Okay, guys, welcome to the Startup Builder webinar series. My name is Aaron Mashano. I'm CEO of Leaders of Tomorrow, and thanks so much for joining me. Today's going to be huge. We're going through the 10 philosophies of a startup success that I've been teaching for well over probably 4 years since I came across some of these concepts. So I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible, pretty much on the first level. But be sure maybe through the series, probably will come back and do another version 2.0, 3.0, and on we go. So let's get started. So as usual, just to mention, I'm a startup consultant, not necessarily a coach. So I tend to say things as I see them. And one thing I always encourage all my clients to do is to ensure they can be as authentic and as honest as possible about how they see things rather than trying to people please, because you find in business not everybody is going to agree with you, no like your ideas, but it's just important that you agree with yourself. So in the interest of keeping it authentic, my approach is more about just saying things based on my experiences and what I see in the marketplace, and hopefully say it as it is rather than say what people want to hear. So, for example, one of the realities in business, as we all know, is 8 out of 10 startups fail in the first 18 months. It's a Bloomberg statistic. Now, that's not nice to hear, but the reality is if you hear it and you take that on board, the question is to ask yourself, what do you need to do to be in the 2 out of 10 who are succeeding? And we just become very honest with that. So that's more my intention as to why I like to be politically incorrect. So here are just a couple of ground rules. While you're listening to this webinar, or if you get access to any of the other webinars, I always encourage you to always, think about how honest are you being about where you're at in business? How honest are you being based on, if you're on my program, we're always reflecting on revenue, and revenue is a good indicator as to where you are in the business space. Number two is, are you always checking in with your passion? Are you still having fun with your startup? Are you still enjoying it as you were when you had it as an idea before you launch? It's very, very important to have fun as you go. Number three is, are you being self-interested? Now, self-interested doesn't mean being selfish. It's a little bit different. Self-interested just means, you're in the business of a startup, which is about making money also as other things, but try and make money at the service of others and not at the expense of others. Number four is taking action. Action to me is the secret magic elixir, if you like, the holy grail of holy grails. Because one thing I do know is when people are not doing well in their business, 9 out of 10 times, they're just not taking action in the right places. So we're going to explore that a little bit more. Number five is give before you receive. Now, what we mean by that there is just like, guys, we're in the business of value. Doesn't matter what startup you're in. So always ensure you are qualifying and identifying what value you're bringing to the marketplace before you expect to receive a payment for it. So just quickly, to kick off this session, I want you to, take a moment to maybe reflect on some of the top things that you'd like to get out of today's session. So what is it out of today in the next 60 minutes that you would like to get out of this session in terms of your philosophy? Just give you a few seconds to just think about that. And maybe if you've got a pen and paper, like I encourage most people to do in the webinar, is, just write down the top 3 things you'd like to get out of today. What is it about philosophy that you want to get? Is it that maybe some of you have identified you have a poor philosophy, so you want to reframe that? Then what new philosophy do you want to have? Some of you maybe are going through a few challenges in the moment and you're trying to maybe get out of that and get into a more empowered state. So what is it about philosophy that we can help you grasp, that can help you do that? And then others of you maybe don't even know what philosophy is. So we're going to explain what that is, and maybe you just want more clarity around that is. So I'll just give you a few more seconds just to write down at least 3 things. All right, cool. So let's kick off. Now, philosophy has a lot to do with mindset. I use a slide on every single presentation or talk I do, but I'd like to just challenge you again and refresh your memory if you're joining us again. is, where's your mindset today before you logged in? Are you in a growth mindset? Are you maybe in a mindset where you're open to new ideas? You're not afraid to fail because you think it's a learning experience. You're also, inspired at the moment, and you're really looking to take your business to the next level. And you're putting in a lot of effort in everything you're doing, including listening to me attentively. What about it? Oh, are you in a fixed mindset? Are you coming to this webinar when you're feeling a little bit frustrated, and maybe some of you already considering giving up, or you have given up? Or, how do you deal with the people that are successful around you? Are you going there seeking for help, or do you feel threatened by them? So the main areas where I'd like you to just maybe critique yourself, and I'd like you to think about, are these 5 areas. Number 1 is skill. Do you still believe that, most of us who are in successful startups or businesses were born with this innate skill? Or do you think that we actually worked hard and kept improving ourselves every day for us to be where we are? Number 2, in terms of mindset, is how do you deal with challenges? Do you embrace them, and do you see them as an opportunity to grow? Some of you have logged in, probably know I've had some tough conversations with you in some of our consulting sessions. And do you see that as an opportunity to grow, or do you feel that maybe I'm attacking you and revealing some of your lack of skill, and you just want to avoid me, or avoid doing the necessary work? And do you give up easily? So which one are you? Number 3 is effort. Do you think effort is essential to your startup? Do you think, I think I keep quoting Richard Branson, who says, some people give up a 60-hour work week to get into business and work 80 to 160 hours. Pure madness in some cases, but it all comes down to effort, and it's effort about the path to mastery. Number 4 is feedback. How do you take feedback? And this is also connected to challenges. I'm very much a big believer in being honest with people, but also giving them an opportunity to grow by giving them some challenging feedback sometimes. But I think it's just a way to learn. And all my coaches that coach me are always identifying areas in my business that I need to improve, and I find this very, very useful. Now, you might want to check yourself when you get feedback from people that support you and love you and want to support you in your dreams. Do you get defensive when they give you that feedback, or do you take it on? Okay, and then the last one to look at in this area is setbacks. I always tell people 80% of success is actually failure. Do you use it as a wake-up call, just work harder next time, or do you blame others when you don't succeed? So where do you see yourself in these areas? Which ones would you say out of the 5 you're probably more in a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? Just check yourself on that. I constantly do as well, because like I said, and I'm not perfect. I sometimes have my little tantrum every now and again. It's very important to just come back to these 5 areas, because these make a huge difference in your startup. So just reflect on those as well as we go through this program. So we're going to go through 4 major areas. Number 1 is we're going to talk about, things like, sorry, just give me a second. Okay. Oh, just give me a second, guys. Okay, so apologies for that. So we're just going to talk about, how does philosophy impact the bottom line in your startup? Number 2, we're going to talk about the actual 10 philosophies and what they actually mean. Number 3, we're going to talk about how to identify whether or not you have a poor philosophy. Okay, and number 4, how do you actually reframe your philosophy? So let's begin. All right, so how does a philosophy actually impact the bottom line? Now, this is a very, very exciting topic, in my opinion. I think one of the most important, because in a lot of cases, a lot of workshops you attend, personal development, or even in the schooling system, they're always talking about you looking at the logical or tangible aspects of your business like revenue, profit and loss, all those sort of things. And those things are very, very, very important. However, what I found is that when you actually are building your business, and when you look at some of these businesses that have gone like from good to great, like I keep talking about, 85%, and this is done by Carnegie, Carnegie Institute, is that they said that 85% of your financial success is actually due to something completely different to what most people think. It's not even your idea. It's not, watching your sales margins per se. 85% of your success actually comes down to your personality, the ability to communicate, negotiate, and lead others. So only a shocking 15% is due to technical knowledge. So I'd like you to just really take this in, really take this in and think about where you're at in the business and where are you spending 80% of your time. Are you spending 80% of your time on the technical aspects of your business, like sending out emails, making sure you have a pretty website, printing out business cards, making sure you have a glossy flyer, which is good, and I think it's very, very important. But in terms of the scheme of things, what most successful people are doing is they're spending time on themselves, spending time on growing their communication skills, getting out there, negotiating, and actually leading their business. So really check yourself on that as well. Yeah. So it's very, very, very important because it has a huge impact on your success. Now, I wanted to bring this up also because more recently, as some of you know, we've launched our business in Singapore and a few other international cities. And I've been really driving the point home of telling people that, you can actually break down your business startup or your company into pretty much 9 steps. And the reason why I say this is because, you can be very accountable to yourself based on looking at what stage are you in your business based on the revenue, rather than, I need to be working on managing systems or managing people. I need to be working on prototyping my business, and yet your revenue is telling you in a completely different place in your business. Has this been the case for some of you? So what I did is I went back to the drawing board recently, and I just basically revamped and did a case study, if you like, on all the clients I've consulted for, and there've been over 400 plus and different revenues, everything from zero to tens of millions of dollars. And what I found were common patterns in where they were in the stages of the business. So what I am here to tell you, which is really exciting, is that now you guys are tapping into this webinar about philosophy. And what I wanted to share with you is these 10 philosophies are obviously absolutely crucial. They're like 85% of what actually makes a difference in your business outside the technical aspects. So they're very, very important tools, and I've used them a lot in my own journey. But what I've found is that when we're really focusing more in terms of when I'm consulting some of my more successful clients, I tend to use these philosophies a lot more at the high levels of the business than I do at the bottom levels of the business. So what do I mean by that? When someone is kind of maybe more in the idea phase or the seed stage of their business, and they're looking to monetize it, chances are you need a lot more technical skills, not necessarily a lot more personal skills, because it's just about action, focusing on a couple of problems, etc., etc. But once you get on to, say, making $1 million and above, then we start looking more about, who you are as a business person, and then because you need to be able to lead yourself and lead your company. So here are the first 5 areas, because people say, okay, Aaron, I have an idea and I haven't yet monetized, or Aaron, I have monetized. Where am I in the business journey? I would say, well, if you're earning anything between $1 to $99,000 in revenue, you are probably in my program and the 5th step of the entrepreneurial journey. And that's not a good or bad thing. It's just to say you need different strategies at that place. But philosophy starts to play a very, very big role, because you start seeing that it's not just about selling a product that actually impacts the bottom line. Now, what's exciting is once you start turning over $100,000 to $999,000, here we call you a startup. And this is my definition. Obviously, it's a disruptive model. Most people think they're startup the minute they start their business. I completely disagree, and that's my truth. So there he is. But once you're turning over 100,000, I, in my mindset, start calling you a startup. And in most cases, I call you a street fighter, because you have to start getting leaner and really, really specializing in your business. But what we're talking about today is more around this area, which is the 1 million to 499 million revenue type business. And don't get intimidated by that if you're not making that sort of money. But what I'm just trying to tell you, what's exciting is, this is really where we start honing in these philosophies, because a business person at this level is managing people and managing systems, and you need to have the right philosophies, because it's how you come across is what makes a difference. So really take this home, and we can talk about this more in the university programs if you ever join us on those, or in the Startup to Success workshops that I run for 2 days. Okay, so what is the startup philosophies, or what are they? So let's go through them one by one. Now, the most important one here, and this is a really big myth in terms of philosophy. A lot of people, particularly who've had a religious background, not so much spiritual but religious, is that there is this misconception that money is the root of all evil. And I think it came from the Bible in Timothy or something. I was trying to find the source of it. But what it actually does say there is, it doesn't say that money is the root of all evil. It says that the love of money is the root of all evil, but somehow that just kind of got diluted and got spread around the world. So this is one of the biggest challenges I always have with my clients, because let's just say you're about to start an idea or a business or anything like that, and yet you have a negative or an unhealthy relationship towards money because you think it's evil. Now, I've got some news for you. What is the number one KPI or number one key performance indicator that can help you dictate whether you're in a successful business or not? Well, the answer to that is revenue, and the answer to that is money. Startups need money to survive. So imagine if you have a negative philosophy or a negative aspect about money and you think it's evil, what are the chances you're going to get out there and ask for a sale? Chances are not very likely. So you just really need to reflect on that as part of the philosophy. But let's dive into more. What are these 10 philosophies? So here are the 10 philosophies that I use in running my company, but also in coaching all my clients. Number one is trust the process. Number one is one CEO. Number two is trust the process. Number three is replicate and master. Number four is mind your own business. Number five is focus on one thing. Number six is action equals rewards. Number seven is time equals money. Number eight is network equals net worth. Number nine is detachment equals flow. Number 10 is one thing equals everything. Now, the reason why I put them there with slightly different spacings is because what I find is, in life is about, right brain people, left brain people, and they all think differently about things. I find that people who are more creative and have a way of being able to approach new people, they're just kind of friendly, bubbly type people. They have no problems for usually with step 6 to 10. But the people that tend to be very analytical, perfection oriented, they tend to be stronger in steps 1 to 5. And I'll explain that in a little bit more detail. So just where are you in that process, and which ones do you think you are? Are you the type of person that likes to take action, don't need a lot of details, kind of find it easy to make new friends? Or are you one of those type of people that can really specialize? You have an attention to detail and you like things perfect. So see where you are there, but just understand there's a gap and you need to be pretty good at most of them, okay? So let's kick into number one. Number one is one CEO. Now, I put this into my on my business cards also, and a lot of people think, oh, well, okay, you're really into titles, you're a CEO. But what they don't realize is that one CEO actually stands for Chief Energy Officer. Because it's really about the energy that you bring into your business and the vitality that comes across when you're doing your projects. Because a lot of times, this is a place where a lot of clients may not understand your idea, but they want to buy into you because you're just becoming a very attractive person. But let's just explore what the key theme of one CEO is. The key theme of one CEO is all about responsibility, guys. And this image really nails it. It says, most successful people I've come across, the ones I've interviewed, worked with, people doing very, very high revenue in their business, idea, or service, they have just this ability to accept responsibility for everything. Did you hear what I said? For everything that's going on in their business and in their lives. Unsuccessful people, it's very easy to tell because they're always blaming their friends, they're blaming the government, they're blaming their health, they're blaming the environment, the seasons, their parents, the economy, the lack of money, too much money, who knows, everything but themselves. So one day I used to fall in the unsuccessful category, and I was telling my coach about, I had a failed divorce and I had this failed businesses, and I was crying myself to sleep sometimes. And I was like, and he asked me, write out a list of everything that's not working for you and why it's not working. And I gave him a very, very good list. And then he turned around to me and says, there's only one problem with your your list. And I said, what's that? He says, you're not on it. So yeah, I wouldn't tell you that directly, but just check yourself on that one. So what is it about responsibility that makes successful people successful? What is it about a CEO, and in terms of what you need to be looking at in terms of key ingredients? Number one is it's about decisions, guys. Decision comes from the Latin word incision, which literally means to cut off from. So the most successful people that I know, and the people that I think really wear the CEO title, which is one of the first philosophies, is they have a philosophy of taking action. And I'm not talking just like, oh yeah, I'll do this a little bit. These guys are like super passionate about what they do. They take immediate action on most things. So for example, I run a lot of talks about this, and I usually go through a 60-minute presentation, sometimes an hour, 2 days, whatever. And I say to people, all right, who's got value from the workshop or the talk or whatever? And I say, great, you need to make a decision. If you want to work with me, go do business. If you don't want to work with me, there's the door, so to say. And most cases, guess what most people do? They just stay in indecision because they don't want to maybe take a risk in terms of taking a decision to start a new opportunity. But at the same time, they don't want to miss out on the opportunity, then they just stay on the fence. My opinion, what most successful people have in common is they have a very strong yes, or they have a very strong no. But in most cases, it's very immediate and they don't really delay. So I would like you to really check and reflect with yourself is how quickly do you make your own decisions, and how massive are they in terms of scale of risk? That can tell you a little bit more about where you are. So here's what it looks like in terms of how a decision is actually made. Number one is, let's just say you're looking at starting your startup, or you're looking to venture into a new market or industry within your startup. You have to make a decision. You go, yep, I'm going to go for that. Next thing that consultants like me would like to see is we'd like to see you actually take action on what you said. Okay, so the sure way to see that you have or you haven't taken action is very simple. We just look at whether something has changed. Have you done what they call an incision? Have you done an incision in your lifestyle? If you're starting a startup, for example, and before your startup you used to maybe sleep 8 hours a day, chances are if you start a startup, you need to be sleeping less. Why? Because it's just showing to yourself that something has changed. Now, once you actually take the action, the next thing is obviously you're going to evaluate the result. Okay. Now, with this result, the thing is it's going to be either positive or it's going to be negative. But the most important thing with that is that in a lot of cases, most people don't accept responsibility and they blame someone else, and thereby they give away their power to someone else and they can't make a new decision. So what I'd like to invite you to start thinking about, if you're really going to embrace this rule as being a chief energy officer of your life and your startup, is you need to start learning to increase your levels of accepting responsibility for both the failures and the successes in your startup. Now, I think it's easier for most people to accept their successes, but I would really wonder how easy it is for people to accept their failures. And I find the bigger you can accept your failures, the more quickly you can make another decision, take a new action, and then before you know it, you're spiraling on your way to success. So I hope that really helps. So here's how my coach really puts it. He says, you only have two options when it comes to making decisions. Either A, you have a result that you wanted, or B, you have an excuse. But there's never both. So just really check yourself on that one. Okay, so number two. Number two is trusting the process. Now, this one is huge. I don't even know where to start with this, but this is the best image I can come up with, which I really, really love. It's talking about a kid with a pina colada. What do you call it? Pinata or something like that. Anyway, you know what it is. And, you're blindfolded half the time when you start your startup or when you're in a business, but you have a belief, you have a knowing that you're going to hit the target at some point. So what do? You just keep swinging until you hit it. Now, in some cases, you might have a coach on the sidelines guiding you, saying, go up, go down, swing left, swing right, whatever it is. But even if you didn't, if you have a faith that you're going to do something, eventually you're going to hit the target. So unlike the schooling system that usually says things like, listen, this degree is 5 years, so in 5 years' time, you're going to get a degree. Business does not work like that. You have to basically trust that the process is going to take as long as it takes. So this is one of the best stories I share as an analogy, but I really feel that it really hits home. So this one talks about the Chinese tree and the Chinese bamboo tree, sorry. So the Chinese bamboo tree is planted after the earth has been prepared, and the earth being your mindset, your clearing, and you're about to start your business. And for the first 4 years, all the growth is happening underground. The only thing that is visible above the ground is a little bulb-like thing, which is basically just shooting out. Okay. Now, each year, the farmer has to fertilize the tree, cultivate it, and water it. And within those same 4 years, guys, there is no visible growth. And that could be like some of you guys in your business right now. You've been working at it for month one, month two, session six, who knows how many sessions you've been having, and you just haven't quite licked it yet. But then you have to think about this. In the 5th year, the bamboo tree grows up to 30 meters in only 6 weeks. Now, that is a huge amount of growth. And I've seen some businesses I've coached that have just exploded, in their month 3, 4, 5, and 6. Why is that? The main question I'd like to ask you there is, did this bamboo tree take 6 weeks to grow, or did it take 5 years to grow? Now, the answer is obvious. But the question I want to ask you is that, for some of you, you're comparing yourself to other business owners who are, overnight successes. There is no such thing. But most importantly, I want you to start identifying with yourself and saying, well, maybe if it's taking you longer than others, maybe you're a bamboo tree, but that doesn't mean that it's the end of the road. You're more likely going to be successful and your growth is going to be so rapid. So just keep in there and trust the process. Okay. So next is replicate and master. And I love this image because I'm also big on martial arts. Now, one thing about replicate and master is this, and this is really where, Leaders of Tomorrow Consulting comes in, and this is what I'm passionate about. I am a product, guys, of my mentors and my coaches. And what my coach used to always tell me is, he says, Aaron, you have two options. You can either play now and pay later, or you can pay now and play later. And what he was basically saying there is like, he's had years and years and years of experience in the business world. And what he's basically trying to do is transfer all that mastery that he has in his business world onto me so that I don't have to spend the same time he does. So the perfect example I have is Benjamin Graham was a renowned investor. He spent most of his life in investment and strategies and teaching. And guess who his student was? Most of you don't know this, but it's actually Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world. Now, the question, again, you have to ask yourself, like you would with the bamboo tree, is how can one man in a one lifetime accumulate, wealth beyond measure? Is it because he just did it all by himself, or is it because he stood on the shoulders of Benjamin Graham, who gave him all the strategies that he needed so that he only focused on the right things? Just some interesting question for you to ask yourself on that. So what does it come down to? It comes down to this fact, guys, that it takes about 10,000 hours, as Malcolm Gladwell talks about in this book, Tipping Point. 10,000 hours is about you getting skills mastery. Skills mastery is the ability and the capacity acquired through deliberate, systematic, and sustained effort. Now, what most of you don't really realize is that you can be working on the same thing, but if it's the wrong strategy you're applying, you can be at the same place 10 years from now. So this whole aspect of working hard is not completely true. I think that's half the glass. The other half of the glass is working hard and working smart. So it's about working hard on the smart things. Now, in my opinion, when you get yourself a coach or a consultant who's gone down the path, bled, failed in a few businesses like I have, come out on the other side, you can go, listen, apply yourself 80% there, 20% there, 2% there, this and this and this. These are the things that really make a huge difference, because then you don't have to spend the same 10 years he took to be successful. You just basically paying for his skills and then borrowing that time from him, and then you can stand on his shoulders, John, and then you apply yourself in 10,000 hours in the right places. Chances are you'll be 10 times, 20 times, a million times more successful than the coach. And that's exactly how it should be. So I'm a really big believer in rule number 3. So one of my coaches, Les Brown, just basically put it this way. He says, you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. And so this is exactly what I was trying to say, is that, you could think you're doing the right thing, but sometimes you just don't know what you don't know that you think you know. And those are the places where you lose a lot of money, time, and frustration. Okay, so number 4 is mind your own business. Oh my goodness, this one is huge. I found people that spend so much time looking through their rearview mirror. What does that mean? It means they're basically driving their startup. They've got into a business, but they're spending 80% of their time looking at what their competition are doing, looking at what their friends are saying, getting advice from people that are not in their business, and they're doing everything else it takes, which is going backwards, looking at their past and the healing that they need to have and all these things that are super, super important. But the point is, it's in the wrong percentage. So as you can see from this image, if you're focusing too much on the rear view mirror, the focus of your future becomes very blurred. And that has a massive financial impact on your business, guys. And in front of you are your customers. So really think about that. So I love this quote. It says, you know, be too busy outworking your competition. I probably wouldn't even worry about the competition. I'll probably add there, be too busy outworking yourself from yesterday. And basically you become so engaged in that you don't even worry about what your competition are doing. It's such a very important aspect. Okay. So rule number 5 is focus on one thing. This is huge. I would probably say 8 out of 10 people that I work with have a very, very, very difficult aspect in following this philosophy, because they want to be working on their website, they want to work on this, they want to work on that, they also want to go and do this, they also want to offer this product, that product, that. And before you know it, there's just so many things that they're working on. Guys, you need to focus on one thing. And what is the main thing you need to focus on in a startup? Is you need to be solving problems. Okay, and what problems do you solve? I would say top 3. Why top 3? You could solve a million problems for people, but you need your clients to be able to know what are the things you're really, really good at solving. So I'll give you an example. In my business, as most of you know now, I focus 100% my efforts on helping people not lose profits. I focus on helping people not stay in this area of confusion. Okay. I focus on also them not having this poor execution that most people have. So the solutions that come with that is that I try in my level best. I spend 100% of my effort looking at all the ways that businesses and startups become profitable. And when I say profitable, it's probably the ability to make profit rather than just making $1 million, because you can make $1 million and lose, it doesn't make a difference. But what are the attributes like philosophy, like we're doing right now? Philosophy actually accounts for 80% of your profitability at standards. You can check that with most experts. It's pretty true. Your philosophy would dictate how you apply any strategy. But number 2 is clarity tools. This is a clarity tool that you have right now. The Business Model Canvas is free online. You can get it and you can basically execute it. But to me, guys, I don't believe in business plans. This is it. If you can fill this in within 5 minutes, you're doing really well. Most people take about half an hour and they're not really sure what they did. But there's 9 areas of the business and you need to know what they are. But in terms of focus, it's about solving the client's problems, and you need to know what are the top 3 problems that you solve. So what that does is that, in a lot of cases, I ask people, hey, what's your idea? What do you do for work? And, they give me a business card. And usually the business card looks something like this. They're a CEO, they're a graphic designer, they're a blogger, they're an entrepreneur, they're a singer, they're a visual artist, they're an author, blah, blah, blah. And, even if I was a client, I'll be looking at that and going, what are you actually good at that I could feel 100% confident you can help me solve? Now, it needs to come across, and I think it's a short teller. If your business card is this busy, you're not clear enough and you're not focused enough on one of the top 3 problems that you solve. So really check yourself on that. Okay. And here's something that probably debunks a lot of what, society tells you. A lot of society says, hey, you need to hedge your bets and you need to, put yourself across and to spread your risk. I totally say that is a load of BS. When you're in a startup, you need to focus on one thing. And I like what Andrew Carnegie says. He's one of my biggest inspirations. And I hope one day I can fulfill my mission in the same way he did. He spent half of his life making money and then the other half giving it away. I think that's just super cool. So this is what he said. He says, put all your eggs in one basket and then watch the basket. What's the basket? That's your startup and that's your passion. So I really hope you take something out of that. Okay, so number 6. Number 6 is, action equals rewards. Oh my goodness, I can't talk enough about this, guys. I always watch people and I go, if you're not an action-taking machine, you should never be in business. You should never be an entrepreneur. In fact, you're not even an entrepreneur if you're not an action-taking machine. It's just how it is. Why is that? It's because, most people don't want to take action because they fear the fear of failure is there. Now, look, guys, it's a very real fear. But here's the thing. It guarantees that you never fail if you don't start. But here's the flip side of the coin. If you never try, you're also guaranteed never to succeed. So you have to. take action. You have to. That's the only opportunity you have, the greatest chance of you to succeed. So where do you take action in your business? I always tell people this. It's very, very straightforward to me. When you're making anything from $0 revenue all the way up to even $1 million revenue, you have to spend 80% of your time taking action in sales and marketing. Why? Because that is where the growth of your business is. You're coming from an area of non-existence. Nobody knows who you are. You need to promote yourself and your brand. Therefore, you should be selling yourself 99.9999% of the time. If you don't have sales skills, get yourself a coach and get yourself sales skills and start to enjoy that process. Now, I've done a whole webinar on what I think the art of sales is. So if you are interested in that, please send us an email at the end of this webinar, and they can help you try and get that video for yourself. But the whole point of that is that, in my opinion, selling is not manipulation. Selling is about sharing your value, solving client problems, and then letting the client choose you. It's not about you going out there. So I think that society has a negative connotation about what sales and marketing is. From my view, if you kind of understood it the way I did, you'd be super proud to promote your business as I do, because I love sales. I love promoting my business, but it's not what people think it is. I think I'm in the business of solving problems. Now, don't you love solving other people's problems? Of course you do. So if you get yourself in that mindset, and this is all part of the philosophy, is that you have to get out there and take action, but you can't take action if you have the wrong philosophy around what sales and marketing is. But you have to get yourself aligned, okay? So I can go on and on about this, because it's what you need to be doing from $0 to $1 million revenue. So try and get the video and focus on it. So here's just the four steps that can help you in terms of how do you target the right prospects, or how do you take action to get those rewards. Number one, which is counterproductive to what most people teach you, is I really believe you need to stop chasing numbers, guys. I haven't chased numbers since my last sales job, which was, I don't even know how long, 4 years ago. And I was pretty good at it, but I was exhausted because 90% of the time I was dealing with people who weren't qualified prospects. So number two is you have to identify and qualify the prospects. And what do I mean by qualifying prospects is they have to be aligned with you. They have to have the values you have. And most importantly, you have to be clear on what problems you solve, and then make sure the clients want those problems solved. If they don't, they're not a prospect, they're a suspect, okay? Number three is find your high quality prospects. And this is exactly what I was talking about. You want to build a startup which is around clients you love. Guys, I cannot tell you, I brag about it. Some of them I've already logged in today. I love my clients. I love them. In fact, I don't even think I call them clients. I think they'll tell you, if you ask any of them, they're family to me. Why? We have the same values. We enjoy working together, and we're both interested in having a relationship. Now, if a client doesn't want to have those criteria, that's okay. It's just I usually refer them to somebody else, because I need that to be in my startup. Okay. So number four is select the quality few to contact, meaning you go through this whole evaluation process, and I'm all constantly doing this even with the people who jump onto our webinars. We give people permission to access our webinars for free. Why? Because I want them to experience it, to see the style of how we do business, and to gain value. And if you've learned something so far here, chances are you're qualifying to be a higher quality prospect. But at the same time, in terms of, we only contact the people that contact us. Okay, and that way we all know everybody wants the same thing. It's a really, really powerful way to build your business. Okay, so number 7 is time equals money. Now, this can mean so many things, but all I can tell you guys is 9 out of 10 times I meet people who are coming from a job opportunity into an entrepreneurial journey is they don't know how to value their time. Now, what does that mean? It just means that, there's a lot of conditioning that's gone on to trading your hours for dollars, and that's good. But in terms of business, billing in an hour does not necessarily translate to a result. And like I said to you, you need to have a healthy relationship with money. And money is the name of the game in a startup. Why? Because it pays the bills. It's where the sales come from. It's what employs people, on and on it goes. And you need to be comfortable with sales. So if you are in business, it's about completion of the project or solving the problem. So it's not necessarily about how much time you put in. So you need to really have a very good relationship with that. And it's very important for you to now start valuing your time in terms of what your dollar productive time is in your business, and only focus on those things. The other things you need to delegate, and that's a whole session in itself. But here are the 3 areas in how you basically translate time or money. They all work the same. Number 1, is most people I find wasted. They log into a webinar like this 60 minutes down the track, they're not taking notes and not questioning themselves in their business. Chances are 60 minutes of their life is gone. In my opinion, if I commit to a 60-minute webinar like I have today, guys, I'm also here to learn just as much as you are, so I don't want to waste it. Number two is you trade it. That's the only other thing you can do with time. Now, you can trade that for money, like I said, if you're in a job setting. But where you want to get to when you're in a startup, and I think in life, is you want to become an investor. You want to become even beyond a business person. You want to be able to be looking at your time and going, okay, I'm about to spend 60 minutes of my time with this crazy African guy on a webinar. What are the 3 top lessons I can learn that I can invest back in my business to get a return? That's what it's all about. And 9 out of 10 times, I find that people that respect their time, know how to say yes or no to their time, will usually invest their time into things that can give them more rewards, more fulfillment, more lessons, and then they take it back to their startup and they execute, and that's where they get the return on investment. So really question yourself is, would you usually waste your time? Do you usually trade your time? And there's only 24 hours in the day, guys, that you can trade, or do you invest your time and do things by the project? Just a question for you to think about. So here's something that really stopped me when I first read this. It says, we all have the same 24 hours in the day. If someone else seems to be accomplishing more than you, they're sacrificing more than you, period. So I just wanted that to just sink in for you guys. It's not how much time you have. One of my coaches kept reminding me when I started off in my earlier businesses. He says, Aaron, the rich man and the beggar have the same 24 hours in the day. It's how they spend it is what makes a difference to their future. So this is coming back to the same question. Are you investing your time, or are you just wasting it or just trading it? Because that in 5 years, guys, 10 years, guys, 15 years time from now, we'll be knowing whether you're going to be accomplishing a lot or basically have exactly what you have right now. And not that there's anything wrong or right with that. It's just, are you okay with it? That's the only question you need to answer for yourself. Okay, number 8. Number 8 is birds of a feather flock together. This is so true. I just remember when I was younger, starting off, and I told some of you I lost my business and became homeless, and I used to hang around with homeless people. And, we tended to over time complain about the same things. And now I'm in business and I'm looking to grow myself. I'm looking to make a significant global difference. I get very inspired, guys, by people who have global businesses. Why? Because they're just playing a bigger game, and I want to play a bigger game. Now, here's what's really interesting. The problems haven't really changed over the time. It's just that I've become a bigger person. So you can write this down if you want. It's never the size of the problem. It's always the size of you. So all I can encourage you to think about here, guys, is look at the 5 people you spend most of your time with in your life. And just ask yourself, are you happy with the things they're complaining about? Are you happy with the type of money they have and the opportunities available to them? There's nothing wrong or right with some of these, because they could be your family, for all I know. But what I'm trying to tell you is that if you want more out of life, you have to expand your network and start getting a high net worth people into your life, because they're going to challenge you to expect more. It's just how it works. We're all creatures of habit. And over time, I think there was a study done, can't remember where, but they were saying, it was done about obesity. It says, if you have 5 obese friends, chances are, if you have 10 obese friends, or people that are overweight, you will be the 11th one. And it doesn't even matter if that close friend of yours lives in a different state. Wow, that was huge. So if that's happening with weight loss and food habits, can you imagine what's happening with your philosophy and your mindset? All right, number 9, detachment equals flow. Now, this one is a very interesting why. I'm still working on this one. And I think ego just stands for edging growth out. Yeah? It's like some of you have everything going for you. Some of you are born into wealthy families. You have beauty, height, great skin color, mental capacities beyond who knows who. But you have so much ego because you just think you're entitled and you think you're better than other people, that you're actually shooting yourself and your growth in the foot. Now, I wanted to put this out there because I went and did some coaching with this guy, Robert Kiyosaki. He's an amazing guy on financial literacy. And basically, coming back to the topic I started with about, money is the root of evil and what people keep talking about that. I loved what he said. He just spun it on his head and he said, it's actually the lack of money is the root of all evil. And I completely agree with this. Now, for some of you, this in itself, you can feel there's a little bit of discomfort because you've been taught to believe this. You've probably grown up in families or environments where money's got a negative connotation. I'm here to tell you, and I'm here to really strongly encourage you guys, that you need to break out of that. You need to detach yourself from thinking money is good or bad. It's neither of those. In my opinion, and in the circles that I work with, guys, all money is a scorecard for your success. Nothing more, nothing less. So just imagine if you had that philosophy and then you detached from all this BS society conditioning to give so much meaning to something, because a lot of people are still in poverty mindset. Your startup needs money, your startup needs sales, and your startup needs a good CEO who has a healthy relationship with money. If you do not have that, guys, I'm sorry to say you will not succeed, because you continuously sabotage yourself. So I really urge you to dig deep in this one and try and detach from not being able to grow in your startup by having some of these conditions that have been given to you by other people who never had the same dreams that you did, and start attaching yourself to new ways of thinking. Very, very important. Okay, so this is basically what I'm saying. Just take the E, which is the energy, out of things that you think happened to you, or blaming the government, blaming your parents, blaming this person. There's just so much energy. You are choking up your growth. Just let it go. Just let it go and step into your greatness and just focus on becoming a better person every day. Okay, number 10. Number 10 is really interesting. I love it because I use this, and I've talked to thousands and thousands of people, guys. I love it because it's almost like a DNA swab. If you imagine a DNA swab that you take on the cheek and they're trying to test out to see what's going on with you internally, they don't need to take a test out of your whole body. All they need to do is just take one little swab out of your cheek, and chances are they can tell you everything you need to know about your lineage. Isn't that amazing? So in the same way, I don't need to know too much about people when they attend my workshops. I just need them to behave in a certain way within a short period of time, and chances are they're doing exactly the same thing out there. So what does that mean? It means how you do one thing is how you tend to do everything. I'll give you an example. If you are generally late for meetings with me, you're probably late for meetings with your clients. If you're generally a complaining person with me, you're generally a complaining person with your clients. If you're generally a low energy person with me, you're generally a low energy person with your clients and your relationship. Now, here's the most interesting one. If you're generally a skeptical, critical, negative, pessimistic person, chances are you're not going to be successful in business, because you need to be optimistic. So if all I can encourage you guys is just pick one area of your life that you really want to see change in, and I recommend it starts with you. Just change that one thing and you'll find that most things around you will change also. It's not some big complicated approach. It just means you need to focus on changing one thing. So I hope that really hits home for some of you, because when my coach started telling me, he says, look, Aaron, just focus on philosophy number one CEO. Just have more energy about everything you do in life. And I couldn't even do that, guys. I was a homeless bum for so long. But then I thought to myself, okay, I can decide to just act energetically, at least that. And so I started with day one. It was a bit weird and uncomfortable. I felt like I was lying to myself. Day 2, week 3, week 4. But by week 5, I started feeling energetic. I started getting excited about things. I started, being more positive. And he says, okay, great. Now, while you're energetic, start supporting other people. Start encouraging other people. And I started doing that. And I found that I became a very encouraging person. And I still am today. And I hope I still am. But it just started with that one thing of just making a decision. But what I didn't realize, 4 years later, guys, I have more energy than most people I know. But here's what I found. The people that tend to have more energy than me also tend to be more successful. It's a really interesting connection. So just check yourself and check your surroundings as well, and see who are the vibrant, vitality people around you. Don't you want to be around those people more? And if you do, make a decision to become one of them too. It's really, really important for your startup. Okay, so here are a couple of quality questions for you guys. What is your energy output? And I talked about this in your space or field. Is it high? Is it low? Or is it somewhat? Just check yourself and give yourself a score now. Number two, how quickly do you execute your ideas? Are you like some of us? I see an idea, boom, I make a decision. Just like that. If I like someone, it's 30 seconds. I like you or I don't. I've made my decision in 30 years. Now, am I often wrong? Absolutely. But the key is I don't have a lot of time. Time equals money, right? So I need to make a decision about where people are in my life. Number three, at what point do you tend to give up? Now, remember, one thing equals everything. So if you give up so quickly on small projects, chances are you're going to give up very quickly on your startup. If you give up very quickly on good relationships, chances are you're going to give up very quickly on your clients. It's exactly the same. I had a big problem with that one, but things are getting a lot better since. Number four, pick just one role, guys. I know I've just shared 10 philosophies and you're like, oh my goodness, it's 10. I need to be great at 10. No, just pick one. I picked the first one CEO, because I knew I could really manage my energy. For some of you, just pick focusing on one thing, just make your life simpler. Okay, but just do it for 30 days. And if you're part of our program, we have an exclusive page called the Startup Builder Tribe. Just post there every day that you're focusing on it, and we can keep you accountable. It's very, very important. Okay, now, section 3 is, how do you know if you have a poor philosophy? I think it's very, very simple. I really recommend you get out there, download it, buy it, go steal it. I'm just kidding. But do something and get this book called The Slight Edge. All it talks about are these two sides of the coin. And it talks about philosophy, attitudes, and results. It says the people that become successful over time, they just choose to do uncomfortable things every day. And later those uncomfortable things become comfortable. Why? Because what's easy to do is also easy not to do. So they take more responsibility, they take more discipline, and they add value, guys. They're value-driven people. Now, if you have a poor philosophy, chances are you're going to always look for something comfortable to do. You're always going to look for, not going to the gym. You're going to look for getting out of things that encourage you to be more accountable in public for longer periods of time. But guess what? Over time, you're going to blame somebody else. You're going to neglect to do the basics in your business. And you feel entitled that you deserve $1 million, and yet you're not prepared to grow into becoming a person worthy of $1 million. Is this making sense? And all I can tell you is this: from all the statistics I've done, 95% of people choose the easy route in life. Startup, guys, is not meant to be easy, but here's what it does: is it throws you into the 5% of successive people who are progressively realizing a worthy idea. It's progressive. It's not an instant overnight thing. So really check yourself on this and look at the lifestyle impacts that it has. But don't take my word for it. Just take the book. Okay. So here are a couple of questions you need to ask yourself on that one. How much responsibility do you take when things don't work out? Do you usually own up and say, it's my fault even if it wasn't? I can talk about so many CEOs I work with, guys. Every time something goes wrong, even if it was their staff or subordinates that did something wrong, they say, look, it was my business. I take full responsibility. I didn't train my staff enough. I love that attitude. It's amazing. So secondly is, what do you spend your time and money on? John DiMartini, one of my coaches, also says, you spend your money and time and space on the things you value. So look around your space. What do you have around you? That reflects what you value. And number 2 is, are the things around you actually contributing to your future, guys? If you have a future to be a successful entrepreneur, do you have successful entrepreneur friends around you? If not, you better get some. What are you spending your money on? Are you spending it on TV and time on watching Game of Thrones or Days of Our Lives? Now, I've got nothing wrong with that. In fact, I download Game of Thrones, but here's how I work. I sleep 3-4 hours most times. I'm too busy on my projects. But once I've achieved my project, I download the whole series and I watch it all in one weekend. It's like binging on it. Now, it's probably not healthy. I don't recommend it. I'm not a health coach, but all I'm trying to tell you is that I invest my time and my money in different ways to most people. Okay, number 3 is, would your closest friends call you a disciplined person? It's very important. No matter whether you think you're disciplined, but your friends think you're disciplined. Number 4 is, what do your close friends complain about? Remember, we talked about birds of a feather, guys. Are your closest friends generally positive, optimistic, supportive, and encouraging you, or are they negative? You need to really check yourself on that. Okay, and then the last section is, how do you reframe your philosophy? It's very simple. We talked about it slightly on Slight Edge. It's simple, but it's not easy. It's just we all have a comfort zone, guys. But the key of reframing your philosophy on any of those 10 philosophies we talked about, is you need to get out of your comfort zone. How do you know you're out of comfort zone? Your ears are burning, you're getting sweaty palms, you don't know what to do, you know, you feel nervous, anxious, all those sort of things. It's called being in a startup. You're doing things that most people don't do to get the life that most people don't have. It's just that simple. So stay out of your comfort zone. Here's what Tony Robbins says, and I'll finish on this. He says, the best way to change your life is to find people who've already done it and then model their behavior. Didn't say get their techniques. It says model their behavior, because behavior leads to character, guys. It's so important. I don't need people to tell me how smart they are or successful in business. I just need to watch them. And then importantly, I need to watch their friends also. And that tells me everything I need to know about them. So who are your friends and what's your behavior? Would it be something that a wealthy person would say, yeah, you're on track? Or would they say, nah, you're sleeping in too much? I don't know. Just check yourself on that. So here are a couple of quality questions with that one. How many self-help books have you read this year? Most successful people are always students. I think there's a quote that said, successful people are always readers, but readers are not always successful or something. I think I've got the short wrong. But anyway, point is that, your mindset that you have has created the problems that you've got right now. If you want to change that, you need to get new information in. Self-help books, attending personal development workshops, it gets you great ideas, new networks. That's how you go about it, guys. I write books and I create workshops for other people. But guess what? I'm also going to some myself. And I pay a lot of money for that. Why? Because I need to have that slight edge. Number 2 is, do you intentionally attend network meetups? I'm talking about getting outside your network, not staying at home watching TV and just working on your website, but going out there and meeting other great people in your industry or other industries just to see what's going on and just expand your network. It's very, very important. I've created a meetup group. We're doing one in Singapore now. I do a lot in Bali also, but we're going to start expanding them on the world. It's just an opportunity for you to meet new people. Number 3, when was the last time you volunteered in a charity organization? Now, I put charity organization there. Why? Because I find, even for myself, guys, I built my business because I wanted to make a difference. And I find when I can go and donate my time and my skills, last project I was working with Australian Red Cross. If you know the Red Cross organization, we're doing institutional learning for refugees and asylum seekers. I just did that out of why, but I got so much out of that, and I got so many ideas, and I impacted so many people. So I thought anyway, that gave me new ideas for my business. So make time for things, and it will be more strategic to donate your time into organizations that are similar to yours. Very, very important. Number 4 is, do you pay for coaching or professional advice? Guys, the most expensive advice is given by ill-informed and inexperienced people. Get professional coaching. Why? Because a professional coach who you've paid for has a vested interest in your success. I can't put it any other way than that. I pay for coaches. I'm a coach, but I also encourage other people to do. So if you don't have a coach, please get one. If it's not me, it's okay. Please get yourself a coach, and get one that is at least at a professional capacity that they can keep you accountable to your goals. Okay, so just to recap, you need to have a healthy philosophy about money to succeed at your startup. Why? Because startups eat money and you need to make more of it for it to be sustainable. If you do not, I think I would strongly encourage you just get out of a startup, because it's the name of the game, results, and the results is in the revenue. Okay. Number 2 is keep it simple, guys. Rule number 4 is focus on one thing. Yeah. Are you solving problems for your clients, or are you just trying to do everything for everybody? It's one or the other. And then if you're focusing on one thing, are you focusing on getting results and not making excuses? Number 3, are you either, there it is, you are either making excuses or you're getting results. There's no in between. So when I tell my coach, this is the revenue I'm going to do by X date, I just go for it. Now, I'll never always hit my goals. I'll tell you right now, I'm not perfect, but I never stop until I do. And when I do, I grow as a person. It's very important. Number 4 is get a coach. And the reason you need a coach, guys, like Les Brown says, is you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. You need someone who can hold you accountable to being on your dreams and your goals. Don't believe me? Look at people who join the gym. I think I used to actually work with a gym coach consulting for a gym, and I found that at the beginning of the year, there was something like a 1,000% increase in memberships. But by April, it dropped to something like 20%. That is a ridiculous amount. What happened? What, these people didn't want to lose weight anymore or get fitter? Of course they did. It's just they were never accountable to it, and it wasn't important enough. So if that's happening even at that level to doctors, lawyers, and all sorts of professional people, I'm sure in the startup space it's exactly the same. So get yourself someone you can trust with your goals. They don't even have to be as skilled as you. They just need to be able to give you what we call constructive support, which is not just being empathetic, but actually challenging you when they need to. Number 5 is make quick decisions. And guys, it's all about making quick decisions. You take action and take responsibilities, adjust and try again. It's not about being perfect. Okay. So thank you very much for that. That's the end of the 10 philosophies that we talked about. Now, the next program that we're going to be doing is going to be in October on the 3rd. And this one is just by popular demand. A lot of people have come to me and asked me, Aaron, can you maybe go through explaining these 6 steps to a sustainable startup? So I'm going to go through everything from the idea stage all the way through to how you make at least $100,000 to $999,000 revenue business. So it's going to be very exciting. I'm going to try and do what I do in 2 days in 60 minutes. So I hope you can join us for that. So what I'd like to do now is just take this opportunity to invite some of you with some of this content if it resonated with you. We'll have a big mission over the next 3 years as Leaders of Tomorrow to create the biggest online startup library, and this is being part of it. So, we really would welcome you to be part of the global community. We've got people from all over the world joining us today, and we're growing our community as we go. So what it involves is that we just have, each month, 60-minute talks like we've done now. I think I've just gone over by about 6 minutes, which is pretty good. And we just drill deeper into each particular topic. So the value proposition I've already done, and I've done most of these topics that you can see here now. But each month I have a consulting session with someone who might raise a question or a problem. I then spend 2 hours with that person, but then I reflect on it and go, okay, this is probably very useful for another person in a startup journey. And then I'll spend 60 minutes just specifically on that one step or one topic. So today was about philosophy. Obviously, people ask me, Aaron, you talk about startup philosophies. You've given us these 10 philosophies. Can you go into a little bit more detail about them? So rather than me trying to explain it 1,000 times, we've recorded it now, and you can access this as well for only $49. So it's a subscription service. Like I said, we're not debt collectors. If you get value from this, you subscribe for $49 a month, and you get access to all the videos that we've done in the past. And then you can log in live and basically get each topic as it comes. And now I know people say, yeah, what about December? Well, you don't have to be as passionate about creating a startup university as I am. So if you can't do the December workshop, it gets recorded and you can pick it up if you're busy. But this is a very powerful tool for you to get specific topics answered over 60 minutes. So I hope you got a lot out of that. And I just wanted to say thank you very, very much for joining me today. And if you've got any questions, please send us an email at operations@lotprofit.com. I know some of you have specific questions that you'd like to get answered. I am very open to trying to answer some of those basic ones via email, because this is more for a recording. So thank you very much for joining us. This will be available on video in the next few days. Until next time, live, love, contribute. Thank you very much, guys.